Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Goldstein. And just going over the concerns that economists had, and certainly a vigorous opposition that was put up to both the labeling of firms as systemically important, given the market distortions that would surely follow, and the resolution mechanism that could be used should they begin to fail, given the concerns over moral hazard and all the rest of it that we had here in the United States. Let me ask you, from Treasury's standpoint, this is a purely domestic resolution authority. So it is going to apply only within the United States. Any type of cross-border resolution authority would require either agreement among the various governments involved or some form of synchronization of the relative parts of the commercial bankruptcy codes and procedures. This would have to be worked out to be uniform. Let me just ask you if Treasury is engaged in such conversations.
I think Treasury is engaged in those conversations, but I also think that that other members of the panel, including the Federal Reserve Board and the FDIC, has been engaged in discussions to help ensure that the Orderly Liquidation Authority is robust, not only domestically but internationally. But I would agree with you, sir, that that work needs to be done in order to help ensure that this is an international.
Yeah. I follow the conversations about the conversations, but I don't think that work is going to get done. Simon Johnson's the former chief economist at the IMF, and as he says, and I'm just going to quote him, for more than a decade, the IMF has been advising that the Eurozone adopt some sort of cross-border resolution mechanism, but European and other governments do not want to take this kind of step. And as he says, rightly or wrongly, they do not want to credibly commit to how they would handle large-scale financial failure, preferring instead to rely on various kinds of ad hoc and spontaneous measures, unquote. That's the reality of where Europe is in this. And in closing, I understand that, you know, you're testifying today, the witnesses, to the belief that this designation and the resolution authority is going to help long-term with mitigating systemic risk. I simply disagree. I think that economists who have raised, you know, their concerns in terms of the moral hazard of doing this are correct. And beyond this fact, the greater worry I have here is that it's likely unworkable. It will cause significant market distortions. That's readily apparent to even to all economists and even to many of you who might support what was done here. It is going to cause market distortions. And increased measures to control risk, such as higher capital requirements, are constantly undermined anyway and avoided by the regulated entities. There is a precedent for this, and I see no reason why that isn't going to continue. And you're doing this in an environment in which you're not getting buy-in by the regulatory authorities overseas. I just don't see that happening. And being stamped too big to fail is unprecedented, but on top of that, it's irreversible. Once you stamp an institution that way, and these firms have benefited from being caught in the government safety net throughout the financial crisis. They're surely going to benefit now from this explicit backstop in the future. It's going to be a lower cost of capital for them. And I'd simply like to caution you to tread carefully here. The broader this line is drawn, the more institutions labeled systemically important, the larger the safety net will grow under our financial sector, and the harder it will be to reverse. And the one thing I would hope we would learn from the past is the cost of that safety net continuing to expand in this way and the moral hazard that goes with it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the Chairman.